What does Steve Jobs, Mike Tyson, and Roland Griffith have in common?
Ooh, great question. But who's the Roland Griffith guy?
Turns out he's a PhD and the founding director of the Center for Psychedelic and Consciousness Research at Johns Hopkins University.
Oh, so there's the connection, huh? Yeah, today we're actually talking about psychedelics, specifically psilocybin.
That's right. We're going to talk about what it is, some current research happening, and the benefits, and what Steve Jobs and Mike Tyson have to say about it.
Oh, interesting. All
Yeah.
right, bro.
Let's
dig
dig in.
Fucking cable.
This is probably one of my favorite songs that we've ever done ever.
I'm Jonathan Noel.
And I'm Brian Noel,
This is the Focus Cast.
where we reduce distractions
Increase focus.
so you can live a life with intention.
Ooh, I want to do that.
Well, one way you can do that is psilocybin.
Very nice.
We're going to talk about it today.
Well, let's kick it off with what is psilocybin?
Yeah, so psilocybin is a psychedelic compound found in certain species of mushrooms. It is chemically classified as a tryptamine, great word, by the way, and belongs to the group of drugs known as hallucinogens and psychedelics.
Okay. So when you're tripping,
Yeah,
it's not because you can't walk, it's because you're tryptamine and
That's right. You tryptamine, bro?
a tryptamine.
Let's go on a tryptamine.
So when consumed, psilocybin is converted into psilocin in the body, which acts as a serotonin receptor agonist, not antagonist, but agonist. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that plays a role in regulating mood, perception, and cognition.
Yeah,
Oh,
goes right to the brain.
that might explain some of the,
The happiness. We all need a little more serotonin in our life.
yeah, definitely wouldn't hurt.
So here's some current research on psilocybin straight from Johns Hopkins University. They're really taking charge right now in this and going through all the hoops required
Yeah.
to do the research. We'll talk about the founder of Johns Hopkins in a bit, but or one of the founding researchers, and he's opened up a grant to build, start to really continue to increase funding for this research that's happening. So it's just some incredible stuff, but we've got 3 bullets here on Johns Hopkins and some of the research that they've done and the benefits. So thing 1, psilocybin and cancer anxiety. So they've done a ton of work around when people are
Terminally ill.
They know they're going to die soon.
Yeah.
And so what they found is psilocybin can significantly reduce anxiety and depression in individuals with life-threatening cancer. So if you read this research, I read some of it, and it's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
Obviously, any of us, hear in the news that you may be gone in 6 months. How do you even deal with that, right? And so some of their early research was allowing some of these patients to take psilocybin and really see how it helps them deal with that reality. And they've had a lot of really positive research.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty wild. What else, bro?
Mystical experience and psychological
That
benefits.
sounds cool.
Psychological benefits.
That's right.
I think mental health
Yeah.
kind of on the rise a little bit, right? Aren't
Yeah.
the numbers climbing?
I don't know.
I don't know. We should probably put that stat in here. However, it seems to be there is a lasting positive change in attitude, behaviors, and well-being, including increased life satisfaction, personal meaning, and spirituality connected with taking psilocybin.
Yeah. And this is documented research.
Yeah, this is
So-
Johns Hopkins, not John Schmo down the street.
Well, and it's funny because our perception of psychedelics was really molded in the war on drugs in the
Totally.
80s and 90s. And
Right, you're gonna peel your skin off like an orange. You're gonna jump out the window.
you're going to eat people's faces.
Yeah,
And it turns out that that's just not true when it comes to this psychedelic.
right. For anyone who has tried, all of this is like obvious. This, we're just preaching to the choir. But if you still are in that, mindset.
Yeah, or you just never thought about
Or
it.
you've never
and
thought about
all
it.
you've ever heard is that mindset. Then
Yeah.
it's maybe just something to go challenge that mindset.
Totally. Yeah. Absolutely.
So last but not least, safety and long-term effects. So, when we look at incorporating some of these substances, the question is, what's the long-term effects? And limited adverse effects, almost none in their research, and long-lasting benefits. So when it comes to increasing life satisfaction, understanding personal meaning, a kind of rejuvenation of spirituality. Yeah, these became long-term and safe effects with those who went through these trials.
What's funny, this brings me to listening to the Model Health show. Yeah, and they were talking about statins, that the drug that they put on everyone with high cholesterol, and then the amount of life expectancy it gives you is hilarious. It was something like -5 to 10 days. So you're expected
to live
between -5 days longer or 10 days longer after taking statins for years.
Wow.
So talk about some lasting benefits there.
5 days, maybe, if you're lucky.
-5 days.
Yeah, -5 to 10. So what's that, like 3? You're averaging 3 extra days? Wow.
Anyway, it's pretty hilarious.
So some of the very specific work that has been done now, and then a lot of work was done in the 50s. They did a lot of research around LSD and different psychedelics in the 50s.
Before the war on drugs.
And then they shut it down. Yeah, they shut it down. So some of this stuff came from research from the 50s, but one of these is enhanced psychotherapy effectiveness by reducing symptoms and improving mood and well-being. So PTSD, war veterans, severe trauma, doing a lot of research around rewiring the brain and how these substances and this medicine helps that. That's what they found.
This seems to be one of the main reasons the resurgence is happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
For veterans with PTSD, because, as much as politicians act like they care, whether they do or don't, they've always used veterans as like their crutch.
That's right.
We support veterans.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how about letting them use this proven, safe.
Yeah. Very inexpensive.
That might be the problem.
Yeah, that is the problem.
That's always the problem. Anyway.
Yeah, and it's true. And, if we want to be serious for a moment, like veteran suicide is tragic, and it's a very high level right now, very high percentage. I think I read a stat, look this up, but I believe I read a stat that more people die from suicide than actually in combat, which is fucked up. So if we have research that suggests that this medicine is extremely helpful, why would anyone block that?
Imagine the recruiters if they said you have more of a chance of killing yourself after going to conflict than actually dying in conflict.
Yeah.
How many people do you think would sign up?
I don't know.
Anyway, so it looks like there's also shown to have been neurobiological effects.
Yeah, let's talk about the brain.
Research suggests that psilocybin may modulate brain networks involved in fear processing, emotional regulation, and memory consolidation, which could contribute to the therapeutic effects observed in the individuals with PTSD.
Yeah, so I love this. So it's not just, enhancing the mood, like it's literally changing the brain. It's changing how the brain functions, right? This concept of fear processing.
Yeah.
If you have PTSD or if you've known someone with PTSD and they hear a loud noise, well, that may trigger an event that they experienced years ago in combat.
Yeah.
Or someone who was physically assaulted or abused when they were a child. If that same persona gets close to them, then the way the brain starts processing that fear, it has a hard time delineating between the present and the past.
Yeah, so it's like the networks that were wired, the actual neurons that created that association with a loud noise with potentially dying and being blown to bits.
Feels the exact same today, even though you're years removed from that experience.
And psilocybin can help basically just goes in like a freaking handyman and just starts
hacking away at some of those bad clusters and reforming new healthy clusters. So I love this concept of modulate, right? So I looked up, what does modulate brain networks even mean? So modulate refers to the process of altering or influencing the activity of certain brain regions, neuropathways, or neurotransmitter systems.
Nice.
Actually going in there and changing the neuropathways within different sections of the brain.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. It disrupts the normal patterns of brain activity. So again, back to...
So it's like you can sidestep the where you're at.
Yes. And start building new...
It just makes it more accessible to be able to just hop in your brain, rather, or whatever, and start analyzing stuff.
Mm-hmm. And rebuilding new healthy pathways. And so this leading to the characteristic alterations in consciousness, perception, and thought processes associated with this experience.
It's beautiful.
It is absolutely beautiful.
And it can help a lot of people.
Yeah, so that's specific to, I mean, when I was reading different research around PTSD and psilocybin and PTSD research, but then there's also just some general other benefits that people experience when they take psilocybin.
Yeah.
What are those, bro?
Well, imagine this. Altered states of consciousness.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you're going to do deep subconscious work, you probably need an altered state of consciousness, right?
I mean,
if we were always like that and we could always just be like, oh, I wonder why I'm angry. And you could just tap into that event that happened 25 years ago and like, oh, I remember, But we don't have that luxury of just being able to go to any point in our existence and really analyze how we internalized their trauma and anything that's happened to us our whole life.
Our brains don't even work that way.
They don't even work that way.
Yeah.
So altered states of consciousness, so leading to experiences such as ego dissolution, increased introspection, just like I'm talking, and a sense of connectedness.
Yeah. Pretty wild.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah. Ego dissolution is really cool. And so we're actually going to do, the next episode will be on ego dissolution because I have some very real personal experiences around that. And I can't wait to talk about it. That's the next episode. So the next benefit is enhanced creativity and divergent thinking, which is everything we're saying, right?
Yeah.
And we were obviously talking about PTSD and cancer and things like that. So very specific to trauma. But if we also look at if it can help us go to our subconscious and re-look at events in our life, obviously it's going to help us with creativity and divergent thinking. We're literally seeing things as we've never seen them before.
Different. It's like having the eagle's eye view of everything.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
100%. In fact, I had read somewhere, this was a while ago, and I literally just thought of this, so I didn't have time to look this up, but that in San Francisco and Silicon Valley, a lot of the aggressive startup culture, they started taking psilocybin like crazy.
Yeah,
to
microdosing.
help them, with their creativity and contribution to tech. So a lot of the tech tools that we have today is because some hardcore engineers were grinding away while microdosing, re-looking at how we function.
Yeah.
And
Imagine
experience technology.
if we could put that kind of money and energy towards, other areas of humanity.
Yeah, no kidding.
Whatever. Mood enhancement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the benefits, it's shown to have antidepressant properties, with studies suggesting that it may alleviate symptoms of depression, anxiety, and mood disorders.
Yeah, which we talked about. The other piece is neuroplasticity. So not only, we've talked about on several episodes where our brains are malleable. That's a hard word to say.
Yeah.
Malleable.
Malleable.
So this concept of neuroplasticity, the fact that it's only within the recent decades that we have understood as scientists that our brains can actually continue to grow and change until the day we die.
Yeah.
Like for a long time, people just believe that like once you hit a certain age, it stops.
Yeah, I remember when you were a kid and they're like, you only have so many brain cells, and everyone you kill when you smoke that joint, and and you're gonna,
That's what people told me when I would suck whippets.
And look at you now.
Look at me now. I'm growing more now than I ever have in my life.
This whippets ain't stump your growth, bro.
I know. I think someone said that the high from a whippet is literally the fact that you killed like 20,000 brain cells within one
People said all kinds of dumb shit like that. If you actually were killing massive clusters of brain cells, I think you'd feel it.
Could you drive home?
Could you drive home?
So next is neuroplasticity. Promote neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and form new connections. We'll strike all that.
Yeah, we already did that.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's next, bro?
Looks like kind of like we were talking about with the PTSD, kind of in that same vein, reduced fear and anxiety.
Yeah.
Decrease fear and anxiety responses. It can modulate the amygdala, leading to reduced fear responses and increased emotional resilience.
Yeah, so we did a lot of episodes around everything in our society is literally rewiring our brain to increase the size of our amygdala, which is to maintain and stay in a constant fear state.
Right. So in the Industrial Revolution,
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just kind of making shit up, but there was the oil rush, right?
Yeah.
Oil was everything.
Yep.
Now it's attention.
Yes.
Just for that sweet, sweet ad revenue. We are the product.
That's right.
And our attention is what is being farmed.
Yes.
With social media and yada yada for clicks, ads, all that shit.
And the quickest way to pull someone in is with fear.
Yeah.
So psilocybin actually physically adjusts the size of your amygdala. So it's the adverse effect, the positive effect.
Yeah.
Against what fear scrolling, news watching, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff does to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, never mind.
Last on the list here, enhanced connectedness and empathy. So this one's a really good one too. So promote a sense of connectedness. So part of depression, and I can speak from experience here, is you don't feel connected to anything or anyone.
Yeah.
You just feel like you're
Flat.
alone, away from everyone.
Yeah. For me, it's just kind of flat.
Yeah.
You're not up or down.
Yeah.
You're just flat.
Yeah.
That's my experience. But I
Yeah.
know what you mean.
Yeah.
You're like, nothing matters.
Yeah. No one matters.
No one, no thing.
You don't even, and it's like, that sounds dramatic, but it's like at a deep level, you just don't feel connected to anything.
Yeah, it sounds dramatic, but anyone who's dealt with depression, they get it.
Yeah, they get it.
I mean, and I've never had like severe depression, so for anyone who's on that severe side,
Yeah.
I mean, that's
tough.
That's freaking tough, man.
So this concept of connectedness, it promotes that sense of belongingness, which we said in our when we did a series on the hierarchy of needs. Our need to belong is one of our core needs.
Yeah.
And psilocybin enhances that understanding and feeling of connectedness, both with oneself and with others. So that's what's really, the duality there is critical. So a lot of people who struggle with depression, not only do they feel disconnected from the world, they feel disconnected from themselves.
Totally.
So this allows you to connect to yourself and with others, and it can foster feelings of empathy, compassion, and social connectedness. So
yeah, I've never seen a group of people who are on psilocybin have an argument.
Really? Yeah, that's amazing.
It's more like hugs and I love yous. That's why they had to shut it down. Too much hippie shit, man.
Too much hippie shit.
These people are expanding their consciousness.
Hugs and
They don't
nugs.
believe in government anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Better shut it down. War on drugs. So anyway.
Yeah. So, again, this is new. And what I love about new constructs, new narratives is, it comes into culture. And then you have three zones. You have the, sure, I'll try anything.
Yeah.
You have the other extreme, which is that shit will turn you into a zombie and make you eat someone's face off.
Right.
And then you have the, I'm a little skeptical.
Yeah.
But I'm listening.
But
right?
if, insert big pharma of choice, if they renamed it, put it in a bottle, a lot of people would be like, okay.
Yeah, and then they had a commercial with a family.
Yeah.
And a person running in the backyard with a dog in slow motion.
Yeah, exactly. The golden retriever. So I'm with you. I think the other thing to preface is like, even though I know a lot of people who smoke weed, who do whatever, I don't think that these substances should just be taken willy-nilly all the time.
Yeah.
I believe in moderation for everything.
Yeah.
Everything has this time and place.
Yeah.
I don't hang out with people who just eat a handful of mushrooms on their way to work.
Yeah.
Shit like that.
Right.
Start driving around, being irresponsible. There's more intentions involved.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing that we've said before, and I love to always say, too much water can kill you.
Yeah.
So
your cells literally expand and swell up and almost explode.
Yeah. So everything
Yeah.
Requires a level of, intentionality and,
yeah. I'll never be the person that's just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
A
lot of it. And that's what a lot of the research says around a psychedelic or a psilocybin experience. If you go in just like the research from Johns Hopkins, they set intentional goals.
Yeah.
And they're working with people that have, they're looking for an intentional outcome. They're
exactly.
proceeding with intentionality.
I'm struggling with this. I have PTSD. I am dying.
Right.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And now you've got something that you're starting with and you're looking for something at the end.
Yeah, and I
want relief.
There's a lot of antidepressants out there. There's people go to the doctor and they have an intention like, I am depressed. So I would like to not be depressed. And so they subscribe or prescribe a antidepressant, right? And those have been around for a while.
Yeah.
Actually, if you read the book, Keeping the Body Keeps the Score, The Body Keeps the Score, he talks about how therapy was making some groundbreaking results with the EMDR, but then this wave of pharmaceuticals interjected itself into the therapy space.
Yeah, imagine that.
And all treatment for all mental disorders went to prescriptions.
Yeah. I was listening to, backing into the Model Health show, they had the guest who was, a mental therapist guy.
Yeah.
And he's about to have a fucking breakdown live, on the show because he's sitting there realizing, like,
wow.
He's talking about how everything he studied, all the things he's done, he's looked at all the stats with these drugs, and he's like, and it just became so evident over the years that it's not doing anything.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's talking about new courses of action and everything he does now different.
Right.
But it's like,
yeah.
That's a tough pill to swallow. But it's just a shame. What really sucks about all of that is people want to help.
Yeah.
And you're left with these institutions that always have a road to drugs.
Right. Yeah, no matter what it is.
No matter what it is.
And now, like, the use of drugs in kids is higher than it's ever been. You've got more kids on antidepressants in elementary school, ADHD medicine, all this kind of stuff. And again, we always say this. We're not saying that all drugs are bad and no one should take them. But we also, the flip side of this is pushing profitability and the effects that's having and will continue to have on our culture and society.
Yeah. At the end of the day, whether or not some people are like, oh, big pharma's evil, big pharma's that, or whatever, at the end of the day, they have shareholders.
Yep.
And a corporation has an obligation to its shareholders to make money.
Yes.
And if they don't do that, if they start doing things that are obviously making less money, they can be sued or fired or whatever. People can get kicked out from the board or whatever.
Yeah.
The majority shareholders can fucking fire you from your own right.
Yes.
Because you're not
meeting the quotas.
You're not meeting the quotas.
Yeah.
So that's just how the system is. Does that mean everyone who works at Johnson & Johnson's evil? No, of course not.
Of course not.
That'd be stupid.
Yeah.
But it's an entity that exists to make money in a way to where if it doesn't, people get sued.
Yeah. Yeah. And for us, to me, it's we can have a victim mentality in this construct, or we can have a proactive mentality. So we have the ability, again, within big tech filtering and removing certain information.
Right, of course.
But beyond all that, to the best of our ability, we have the ability to research and do our own research and make a fucking decision for ourselves and not let others make a decision for us. The reason they are profitable is because we keep buying.
Yeah.
Their profit goes away if we don't buy.
And because they have a big budget for marketing.
Yeah. And this goes for every industry, by the way.
Totally.
The candy bar industry, the soda industry, all that.
Oh, yeah.
They're profitable because we consume it.
Not to go on a long tangent, but we already talked about war.
Yeah.
Within arm's length.
Yes.
I mean, what an obnoxious acronym that's totally fitting for one of the what is the leading cause of death? Heart disease?
Yeah.
And sodas and sugar.
Yeah, it's one of the main causes.
The whole campaign is within arm's length.
Yeah.
Within arm's reach. Sorry.
Yeah, the war marketing campaign is they set out, big soda, big candy companies, they set out to where no matter where you go in this country, those consumables are within arm's reach.
Right.
No matter where you go.
So vending machines, you can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
There's at least a vending machine.
You go to a fucking state park.
Oh, yeah, candy at the...
where you're supposed to be taking hikes and enjoying nature.
Yeah.
And there's a fucking ice cream.
Yeah, and if there's not, you'll see at least one candy bar on your hike of an old wrapper on the ground and be reminded of that Snickers.
From some dick fuck. But anyway.
So, let's talk about some quotes.
Yeah, back to Steve Jobs,
yeah,
Mike Tyson.
Yeah, we mentioned them. What did they have to say about psychedelics, bro?
So I absolutely love this quote from Steve Jobs. He said, "Taking psychedelics was a profound experience, one of the most important things in my life. Psychedelics show you that there's another side to the coin and you can't remember it when it wears off, but you know it. It reinforced my sense of what was important, creating great things instead of making money, putting things back into the stream of history and of human consciousness as much as I could." That's Steve Jobs' direct quote from taking psychedelics.
Damn, son. He ended up making money, too.
Yeah, he did. A lot of money. Pretty wild.
All right.
Who else we got?
Mike Tyson. Let's see what he had to say. No. Everyone thought I was crazy. A bit off. Or, sorry. So the next one, Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Everyone thought I was crazy. I bit this guy's ears off. I did all that stuff, and once I got introduced to shrooms, my whole life changed. To think where I was, almost suicidal, to this now. Isn't life a trip, man?
The tryptamine, man.
It's amazing medicine, and people don't look at it from that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Tyson now is like, have you seen that guy? Dude, he's in shape.
Oh, yeah, he's like back at it.
Yeah. And he's like, what, 60s?
He's like reborn as a, yeah, no, it's amazing.
It's wild.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, how many positive experiences, how many people have to talk about it? I mean, it's pretty common now in my circles. We all are, this is all just like, anyone in my circle would listen to this podcast and be like, yeah, duh, we already knew that, yada, yada, yada. That's not really who it's for.
Right.
You know, but there's tons of people who are on either on the fence or just like you said, don't think about it.
Right.
Or just it never crossed their mind.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I love talking about this is because the Focus Cast is predominantly geared towards entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurs, I've met entrepreneurs that are really, really smart, brilliant people, but they're just plagued with depression. You know, they're plagued with such negative self-talk.
Yeah.
And their inner narrative is so critical, and it just destroys them. And what the world may not have because they're unable to work through some of those challenges, to me, is really sad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you say that. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about art recently. Yeah. Like, obviously I'm a musician.
Yeah.
I like art. Duh.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to realize, like, it's pretty sacred, right? Like, we all have something to contribute.
Yeah.
Whether it's as simple as a painting or as an innovation, a fucking whatever.
Yeah.
You know, just a little jib that helps one piece of one industry that maybe makes people's lives easier.
Yes.
You know, so.
Yeah, that's to me, that's why this whole podcast exists.
Yeah, if we can get to that state where we're contributing to humanity.
Yeah.
I mean, making money too, but hopefully using that money for not being a dick. I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point, right?
That's the whole point. So our last quote to round out this episode is from our boy, Roland Griffith, as we said, PhD, and we're doing a lot of this work at Johns Hopkins. So he said this: I'd never seen anything remotely approaching that after having studied dozens of different psychoactive compounds, talking specifically about psilocybin here. Griffith says, the results were life-changing for many of those participants, and they turned out to be life-changing for me. And he has set his life course on having to justify this medicine through research, but he's doing the work.
Yeah.
So
I think for psilocybin, there's a happy medium. Like people can still make money, and we can still help people.
Yeah.
Now, if it turns into some bullshit insulin situation where the company gets bought out and the people who bought them sell the insulin, didn't the price go up like 300%, or was that EpiPens?
Oh, it's insulin. Yeah.
Or insulin, and I think it happened to EpiPens too.
Yeah.
One company got bought, and then the price of EpiPens went up like 4,000%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, insulin, the patent ran out. And it was a very inexpensive. And insulin's one of those things where some people have to have it or they will die.
Yeah, type 1 diabetics.
Yeah. And there's people that are listening that know a lot more about this than I do. But yeah, you're exactly right. It's something happened and a company bought it, and now it costs like $500 or some shit, a week for someone.
Yeah.
For something that was inexpensive to create and mostly free. Which I'm sorry, that's a point in our society where we should pull people out of buildings and we should just fucking stone them right in the street. Because that shit is unacceptable.
I think, honestly, there needs to be more like...
And our politicians those fuckers should go to jail.
Yeah.
You got a guy
you gotta at least set one example.
Yeah, you got a guy who gets busted with a little tiny bag of weed and he's in jail for 30 years.
Yeah.
Yet a company can take something that's mostly free, that keeps people alive, jack up the price and profit the shit off of it. And I that shit just fucking pisses me off.
Yeah. I mean, that's if we could just set a few examples, that would be one. That might change things. And if politicians would just
have a fucking spine,
have any kind of spine, send one to prison for 30 years.
Yeah.
Someone.
Yeah.
Or then no one else wants to do it.
Or let's tie some people that have died because they couldn't have access to insulin, and let's get them on murder charges. Let's send them to prison and life in prison for murder. Yeah,
they literally couldn't afford something that was generic or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I got whatever.
Yeah. I'm to the point now to where if I'm in a social setting and I met someone that worked at a company,
yeah,
I don't care if they're middle management. If I met someone that worked at a company, I would say something to them. I would just be like, how do you work there?
Yeah. Well, earlier in this episode, we did talk about not everyone at Johnson & Johnson's evil, but...
Yeah, but there's some pretty clear...
Yeah,
If everyone at that company fucking quit, that company wouldn't exist. And the problem would be solved.
That's true, yeah. If there was mass quit, if everyone quit...
Yeah.
If everyone just said, fuck this, everyone who felt morally wrong about what was happening
just walked out. 2 ways to completely change our society overnight. Stop buying it and quit working there.
Yeah.
That would change our society overnight.
Yeah, I think about this a lot. There's a lot of people who work, and there's a lot less people who manage.
Yes.
And there's even less who run the business and own it.
Yeah.
So... we can definitely vote with our dollars. I vote with my dollars.
Yeah, me too. I vote both ways. But okay, so here's when I make $1 billion.
Yeah.
This is going to be my nonprofit. Are you ready?
What's up?
I will have a trust, and that trust will be designed for whistleblowers and employees who wake up and say, I'm not working for these evil pieces of shit anymore, and they quit. And they need 6 months' salary to transition into a new job. Covered.
Nice. So then you're incentivizing quitting for the evil corporations and whistleblowing.
Yeah.
I dig that.
Yeah. Now, if
I'm sure other billionaires will not dig that.
If I'm self-suicided, listen, I've been going to therapy. I'm more happy than I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
So if I'm self-suicided with 8 shots to the back of the head, you'll know that shit was fucking...
Mysterious car accident.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, can we at least see the car? No, it's gone.
No, it's gone.
It got shipped to Mexico.
It burnt to literally.
It burnt and it all
incinerated to
melted. Even
absolutely
the high strength steel melted.
So anyway, that's our episode on psilocybin.
Awesome.
I mean, I think the general, and psilocybin is legal in certain states now.
Yeah.
So I think 2 courses of action here, and what's the goal of this podcast? Number one, the first thing is, just because you've been told something, ask yourself, why was I told that?
Yeah, and who made money off of that?
Yeah, who made money off of that? And let me do my own research and come to some conclusions.
Yeah.
If you are someone struggling with PTSD, severe trauma, depression, things like that, it might be worth doing some research, looking up some centers or some places in states where it's legal, and potentially applying that is a form of therapy for you.
Yeah. Everyone needs to do their due diligence.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell everyone I'm not going to tell anyone that you absolutely have to or should do anything.
Yeah.
But
Except for think.
for certain,
Please think.
well, you should definitely be critically thinking. Sorry, have to take anything.
Yeah.
But it can be beneficial for a lot of people.
Yeah. 100%. All right, bro.
All right, I think that's wrapped up.
Let's roll.
Thank you for listening to the Focus Cast. Go to youtube.com/thefocuscast and slap that subscribe button. Head to thefocuscast.com to share what you want to hear next. Go forth and be focused as boys.
Boy, got hot there at the end.
Still only about